pissed off, all right?
That's right. Yeah, you don't want to do that. That's for sure.
No.
Be nice or else, right, Sean?
Exactly. Well, thank you, Stephen, for joining us. And I just want to give a brief introduction before we kind of, dive into this. You're a business coach and a trainer. You have over 26 years of experience. You have a background in marketing, communication, operations. You've been recognized as one of the top experts on business systems in the beauty and wellness industry. You've worked with Milady. You've been a judge for the North American Hairstyling Awards. You've supported over 450 salon and spa businesses to really increase their sales. You've launched your own company, Stephen Gomez Business Coaching, to really further your commitment to support of the beauty professionals. And I think it's just awesome what you've done in the span of 26 years and how you're continually giving back to the beauty industry. So we are so thankful and blessed to have this time with you. So welcome, Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. My honor. I'm glad to be here with you guys.
We always get so excited when we're doing these webinars because the first person that comes to our mind is always you, Stephen. And to be honest with you, I can really put on one hand of any coaches that I would hire to work with, and you're definitely one of them. And
thank you.
How you just give back so much. I've never seen someone give as much as you do, and just free content all the time. And just to help salon owners. Where does that come from, first of all, Stephen? Where does this heart come from?
My mom. I'll start there.
Thank God for moms.
Yeah, I mean, my mom raised my brother and I on her own, and she was working 2, sometimes 3 jobs, and there was never a complaint out of her. She would just continually give, and always taught us to give. I mean, my brother and I, as young kids, we would go and with my mom, and we would do things in our community as kids. So I think from an early age, that's just been ingrained in my DNA, but I think, at the end of the day, not everybody's going to be ready for intense and rigorous coaching. It's something that you really feel like you have to be ready for, right? You really have to be up for someone digging in to how you think and how you operate and your behaviors and your habits at a high level. Because to me, that's what real coaching is. Anybody can teach, here's what your retail to inventory here's what your inventory percentage needs to be, and you're over budget by X amount, and do these steps. That's do stuff. But I think where the magic of coaching comes in is when you're committed to support somebody to shift how they relate to themselves, and that also led and contributed to whatever the issue may be. I think a lot of times we just get on the surface level, and transformative coaching is when we dig in and support somebody to relate to what they brought from themselves to the issue, so they can see an opportunity to learn a lesson that can have them grow for life and solve whatever that issue was. So not everybody's ready for that. So, I was cut from the cloth that what everybody is ready for is a boost when they need it, a little kick in the ass when they need that, a little love and empathy along that way as well. And, I've never stopped anybody from reaching out to me and asking me questions. I draw my line when they're like continuing to want time. And I was like, well, now you got to start paying, my time's valuable, and, I'm busy. My time's valuable, but I'm always going to answer an immediate question for someone, because I think all of us, the 3 of us, and probably anybody listening, on our journeys in this industry and just in life, we've always had those moments where we're facing something and we need an immediate answer. So after work, we're up late scouring the internet, we're getting on social, we're trying to find something. So who am I to say I can't answer something immediate? I'm all about that. Here's 2 things I think you should do, but you also should look at how you relate to it. And if you want to dig into that, come back around to me. So I think that's always been my frame of operating. And I think that when you can help somebody solve an immediate thing, it gives them what they need. If they ever come back to you or not, I'm not attached to that. You know, you give because you want to give, you know, and I think if we look at what's happened in these recent days that we've all been maneuvering through, how could I not give? You know, I'm on the phone constantly. Without COVID, at least once a month, somebody's sending me someone who's looking to either learn how to do a business valuation so they could sell their company, or how do I liquidate? I'm done. I need to close my doors. That's once a month on average. From April to the end of June, I had 9 of those conversations.
Wow.
And then from July to about a week and a half ago, I had over 30 just here in California because of our crisis. You know, and you're in these dialogues with people, and some of them are just like, I'm done. This is my excuse to get out. I'm done. Okay. But the majority of them, they just saw no other way out except to liquidate. And, you know, you're on the phone with people and you're hearing the dimming of the light a bit, the crushing of the soul, the sadness. And that emboldens me to just want to keep helping and giving back. You know, how could you not want to help? Because those 30-ish people represent more than likely thousands across this country that have had to make that choice. And, you know, that's unfortunate. So to me, if you can give somebody some immediate support, take these steps. Let me email you this handout or this, Word document with 8 steps. Why am I charging for that when it's going to give somebody something immediate? You know, if they want to dig deeper, if they want to go deeper, they know where they can find me. I'm not attached to whoever chooses to work with me or not. I tell everybody that, you know, it has to resonate with you. If you're going to choose, we're going deep, you better be ready for that. Like, to me, that's the message I'll always bring. And I'll never worry about yeses and nos in sales. You know, I'm going to worry about, why do you want this? What do you intend to get out of this? Is this something that is going to support just you or others? Do others need to be involved in this? That's where my gig is. You know, if I'm going to spend my time, I want to spend it in a way that's going to progress someone's world. So if they're ready for that, then we're going to jam. If they're not, I get it. It has to resonate in the moment. And I think a lot of times we get so attached to a result. I'm going to have this conversation. I want it to be this. Only thing I ever want out of a conversation is that somebody has some type of realization that supports them. And if it resonates, that we continue the dialogues and I'm compensated thereafter, then right on. If not, it's cool. You know, but I want to leave people having left a mark and having grown personally myself. And I want them to grow and have them feel supported out of a conversation. I can sleep at night that way.
Yeah, it's all about being able to sleep, right? No regrets. And I love that.
Correct.
If I was on my Be Amazing podcast with you right now, I'd call it Be a Giver, and why you need to be a giver, and how it just shifts and change mindsets. And same as me, same as you, same thing with my parents teaching me how to be a giver, and
Yeah.
I never look back. And I know that's why I'm, you know, in the position I am. But I want to talk to you because today you're also giving back to the American Salon, I see. And that's a free webinar that's happening. And it's all on financial fitness. And,
Yep.
and I love that because Sean and I, we have this 6-month business and leadership mastermind that we do. And the very first month, that's what we're spending our time on, right? Financial fitness. And that's what you're talking about today. Give us a sneak peek of what you're going to be talking today about on American Salon Live today.
Yeah, so I wrote a book called Financial Fitness. I wrote about 4 years ago, Systems to Increase Your Salon and Spa's Profitability. And I wrote that book because there's this thought process that right brain creative artists have as it relates to linear, systematic, or financial things that tend to have us shy away. And, you know, the first part of the book is all about helping people realize their thought process that is creating an impediment and barrier to them learning how to understand it, and then how to implement what they're learning from. So to me, the ability to understand and how to locate yourself in it, like, am I excited when a spreadsheet's in front of me? Am I nervous? Does it bring up this story I have in my head that I'm not smart enough? You know, so that is the opening conversation. How do you relate to money management? How do you relate to understanding and tracking finance? Because those two things can accelerate and propel you forward financially, or they can hold you back or just keep you spinning your whole career financially, working your ass off, but not making enough money because of how you relate to it. And you either come to it from lack, or you come to it from it's going to come and go. Let's have a good time. You know, how are you thinking and relating to it? So in this webinar, I'm going to begin with talking about financial organization, which begins with how you think, how you relate to things. Then what's your relationship to the numbers? Are they organized at the nuance that they need to be for our industry? I get my hands on P&Ls weekly, and they're just too general. There's not enough separation or depth. Without the level of separation and depth, there's no way we can really calculate and do a cash flow analysis to see how the business is performing. So we just see top line sales, this whole list of expenses, and ooh, there's money left over. I guess I did good, but wait, it's not in my bank account, shopper. You know, so there's just a lot of things that get in the way of us being successful. So one note, I'm not on this thing live today because I have a full day of work ahead of me. I got 5 coaching calls ahead of us after I'm done with you guys. So I recorded my thing. So I won't be on live, but I will be there nonetheless. The algorithm will show up, you know. You know, but I do get into you know, where you need to separate things specifically. On a profit and loss statement, sales need to be separated. One of the things I always believe is that you have to look at your business in our industry as multiple businesses under one roof, and we don't. We just lump everything together, throw it all together. We throw all the money in the bank account, we throw it all on a P&L, and it's just there. So we have to separate everything out. Because you have a service business, it has separate systems, has a separate cultural way of operating and thinking. It has separate expenses attached to it, most of them. Then you have a retail business, completely separate animal and business that has its own cultural thinking, has its own systems, has a very few amount of expenses attached to it. But then what we do with that is whatever's left over, we don't really save as profit. That 36.3% profit we're supposed to get from our retail, we throw that in the bank account and use that to pay other bills that we shouldn't be doing instead of saving it for profit. We have a gift card business potentially. Separate way of looking at it, separate systems, separate budgets. We might have a membership part of our business, completely separate animal there, separate tracking, separate relatedness. Customers think differently under memberships. We might have a rental business, another separate entity that has different ways of operating. So at the top line, if we're not separating everything out, then we're just relating to everything as one amalgamation, as opposed to really respecting each as its own entity that needs its own time and attention, and tracking, and goals, and coaching. Inventory is usually lumped together in a profit and loss statement. It needs to be separated. Your back bar inventory is budgeted based on service sales only. So if your back bar and retail inventory is not separated, and your sales on the top of your P&L, they aren't separated, how the heck do you know how you're performing with managing your back bar? Your retail inventory is divided into your retail sales to get your budget. And if they aren't separated, again, how do you know? Your payroll needs to be separated from income producing payroll and non-income producing payroll and owner payroll. And oh yeah, if any of you are owners listening or independent owners out there, you need to pay yourself as an expense of your business so that what is left over is true profit for the company. If you're taking what's left over, you're not creating long-term profit, and you're not giving yourself an opportunity to fight for more bottom line profitability and create more savings for yourself in your financial future. And that has been clearly evident by this pandemic. This pandemic has exposed all these things that this coach has been railing against and getting up on my platforms and shouting from the rooftops about, with regard to understanding finance, organizing it, tracking it, and using the data to transform it. You see, data is your business communicating to you. So if you're not looking at the data or learning how to read it, then you're not listening to your business. Then you're just managing based off of what you feel and think is going on. And while you do need to trust your gut in certain circumstances and follow intuition, when it comes to understanding how the business entity is performing, you just can't dial into it if you're not taking the time, number one, to get it organized and then analyze it and reflect and think at a more macro level up here as to what's going on around you. You know, and that's the biggest missing that I see with salons and spas and independents, is that we're not taking the time to reflect. And then even if we are taking the time, it's not organized and we don't know what the heck we're looking at. And that's why I created the book, so we can get people first to think differently about money, to come to grips with how they relate to it so they can shift it, and then learn where they need to put their time and how to get it organized. That's what the rest of the book is all about. And, you know, there's 23 spreadsheets that come with it, instruction guides for each of them. So that way, if somebody's not nerdy like me and loves this stuff, the instruction guide will say, here's what you're looking at. Here's where you get the data, plug it in here. This is what you're reading. If the numbers say this, do these 5 things. If the numbers say that, do these 5 things. So I tried to make it user-friendly for everybody, because there's a lot of people, again, that might not afford a coach or don't want to get that deep. And there's a lot of people that just want to do it on their own. So I created the journey in a way that is simplistic, gets right down to it. There's not like, you know, 100 pages of fluff and then the juice. It's like a 75-page book that just gets right down to brass tacks in a language that us right brain creatives can understand, because we need to get to work and time is too precious. So, you know, that's really in a nutshell why I created that. And I do it in a lot of iterations. I have a 10-part webinar series that comes with it that people can get. I lead a 2-day workshop. I partner with a lot of different organizations, and I lead a 2-day workshop where people literally have to bring their computers and their P&Ls to us. And I write a 7 to 8 page analysis and recommendation report for them before they even show up. So I've analyzed every business in the room, and we really dig into it all. You know, so I'm very committed to transformative education for people, and stuff that people are going to be like, if you're not ready for it, don't go in that direction. You know, be ready for it, because, you know, it's going to be a deep dive, you know, because anything worth transforming has to be a deep dive, you know?
Yeah. You know, it wasn't until I remember my business partner said, you've got to know your numbers to grow your numbers. And he kept saying, Tina, you've got to have your CPA explain it in your terms. And finally, when he said that to me, the light bulbs went on and said, oh yeah, yep, I'm paying them. I need to tell them to explain it in Tina's terms. And Sean knows that I'll be like, can you please give me this in Tina language? And so I'm going to have you break some of this down into Tina language. And I love that you're so gentle and you're such a great coach, Stephen, and you always make me don't feel stupid when I'm talking to you, and I feel like every salon owner feels that way. What I love is when you talked about the multiple businesses under a roof, and I think this is a missing link for my companies as well too. And I love that you dropped a bomb here a minute ago, and we have to touch on this because you said your retail should it be at 36.3%.
Yeah.
Tell me
that was
about
profit. That's profit return. So there's only a handful of expenses that are directly related to your retail sales. First is your inventory, and that needs to be managed at 50%. So if I sell 1,000, I get 500 to restock the shelves the next week. And we need to base our inventory purchases this week on last week's sales volume, not just eyeballing and looking at the shelves and, oh, I think I need to have 6 when I only sell 1 a month, but I was taught I got to have 6 of that. So therefore I have 6, right? So we eyeball and we make orders. We don't really look at volume, and we don't dictate based on volume. So if I'm hitting 50%, that's the biggest place that a salon owner can make or break their retail profit. So if I'm managing at 50%, the next expense is retail commission. The majority of salons and spas offer a commission. Some don't. I don't go either way or the other. I don't care. Offer it, don't offer it. I don't think that a hairdresser should be incentivized to sell retail or motivated by getting money. They should be motivated because if I look at that head of hair as a professional, how could I not recommend what I know the person needs to be using, especially when they're probably buying something from Walmart that is not right for their hair type, and they're doing more damage to their hair than not. That's why I should be selling retail. If I happen to get a bonus, oh yay. But I shouldn't really give a rip if I get one or not. That should be the mentality of everybody in this industry. And I'll always say it just as straight as I did right there. You know, again, it should be about giving the best and ultimum to someone. And if I'm not doing that, ultimum, I think I created a new word, ultimate. I love it. We're creating, it's next level, right? We're going next level. Anyways, you know, so for me, you manage that inventory. Your retail commission, the industry average is 10%. Some people scale it, some people go 5%, some people go higher, but the average is 10%. Now, you then have payroll tax on that money. So countrywide, we're at 12.5%. Each state has a different payroll tax amount. But if I do 1,000 in retail and I give 10% commission, that's 100. And 12.5% of that is $12.50. So that's really $12.50 of 1,000 in sales is only like 1.25% that's coming out, right? So it's not a lot. And then lastly, and in inventory, by the way, I include the shipping and sales tax, by the way. So the last expense is your credit card processing. So if you've got a good average is 2.5%. Some people have 1.75% credit card processing. But if we go off 2.5%, just to create a little wiggle room, so I bring in $1,000, I restock the shelves with 500, I pay the team 100, you know, then that 1250, and then I don't know, 2.5% is going to be maybe like another $37 or so of credit card processing. What does it leave me? $363, 36.3% profit. That's the number. Okay. We separate out, those are the things. So, but here's then what we do. We take that 363 profit and we don't save it and squirrel it away for rainy days. We just lump everything into the bank account as the money comes in and we pay bills with it.
Right.
Not even knowing like, oh, I'm literally taking my retail profit. I'm taking that $363 to pay for bills that my service sales should be paying for. My service sales should be paying for what my retail profit's paying for. So if anybody's listening to this, this doesn't mean that you can immediately take that proverbial 363 and just take it out. Your business is used to having bills be paid with it. What you need to do is a few things. Number one, find out what your average is and go back at least over the last 90 days to do it, because business month by month fluctuates. So go back over the last 90 days and look at your retail sales, your inventory percentage. If you're above 50%, then you don't have 36.3%. Any percentage above that 50 mark in inventory ordering is chipping away at profit. But let's say you're hitting that mark and you now know what your 36.3% number is over the last 90 days. And let's say it's $500. Keep the numbers clean. You now need to grow your service sales to get back that $500. But you don't just grow it by 500, because if you grow service sales by 500, you have to pay people to do the work. So if I'm giving Sean 50% commission, you know, there's 250 of it right there that's gone. And then payroll tax on that, there's another 12.5%. So that's another 70 so dollars or 50 whatever dollars, maybe 65, something like that. There's my back bar, because Sean used back bar to do the work. So there's another 5 to 10% based on what your average is. There's credit card processing on that as well. And then there's workman comp involved. So you have to actually add in all those expenses. And when you do that, the goal usually becomes the 500 plus about just around 70% of it. So if I were to do quick math, and I'll grab my phone here and get my calculator, 500 times 70%, that's another 350. So my goal is really 850. I have to grow my service volume by $850 a month. So I grow the volume, pay all the expenses related to it, and now I have my 500 left over in retail profit. So when I grow by that 850 a month, and I maintain that 3 months and onward, now I know my volume is going to stay there, and I can take that retail profit every month and not worry. Now, the cool thing about this, Tina, is that let's say that I'm 3 or 4 months into this journey and I haven't grown by 850 yet, but I've grown by 425. Well, I could take 250 retail profit now, put it away. I'm halfway there. So it's all about it's all about knowing what these equations should be, going backwards to get your actual averages. And this is what gets exciting. When I work with salon owners and spa owners and we get their data and we mine it and we start looking at these percentages and they start seeing the profit potential, you know, light bulbs go on. I mean, you know, people get fired up, you know, and then we start digging into the systems that are creating the result and look for how we can transform it to improve the result. But all of it stems from, hey, you want to have a solvent business. Here's what the data is showing us. So we got to get it organized so we can understand what the data is saying. And then here's how we attack it. There's nothing I love more than getting a business eventually. And by the way, in that scenario I just walked you through, on average, I coach over 20 businesses a month. And I've coached over 450. So what I'm saying to everybody listening, I'm not throwing hypotheticals at you or guessing that this maybe might work. What I'm sharing with you works because we've done it and done it and done it and done it. You just have to be patient, because that's the other thing. When you learn of something new, you get all excited, but then the impatience comes. You want it yesterday, which is unrealistic. So you have to redirect that energy into organization, reflection, and analysis. Those are always the 3 first steps you take. Wow. Got to get it organized, got to reflect and analyze and think about it. Understand why it's being this way. Not beat myself up for not knowing, number 1. Not beat myself up for, oh, I've been doing this for 20 years. Why did it take me so long to learn? Let me play the violin for you. How long do you want me to play it? Because the business doesn't care how you feel. It needs you to learn this stuff and act, right? You know, so let's move through those phases. And, you know, generally it's a good 6 to 10 month journey in my experience to get that business to that consistent number that we need it to be. The larger the business, the longer it usually takes because there's more working parts involved. But once we get it there, then we can take that profit, that retail profit, and we put it into a savings account. And then what I do with clients that I work with is they can't touch it for 90 days because they immediately want to use it and start chunking stuff down. Just like when we get that gift card money, we just want to like pay stuff off, which we shouldn't do. We got to manage the money to get the money working for us. So once we get that 500 back, we can sock it into savings. Every 90 days, $1,500 is in there. We take half of it every 90 days and chunk down debts or pay off credit cards or loans. Or if we don't have any debts, we invest half of it into more aggressive marketing, education, bringing in a Sean to do a training, bringing in a Tina to do a training, bringing in a Steve to do a training, things like that. We always keep the other half in the bank. That's for rainy day money, or as Tina, you know, Papa don't know money.
Yeah.
Don't know I'm gonna go get that Louis Vuitton bag. But anyways, you know, we just squirrel that money away, right? So we use half of it every 90 days to either grow business or pay debts down. The other half stays in there in case the water heater breaks, so I don't have to use a credit card and now have interest I have to pay. I've got money there to help me. So if I'm still sitting on that $1,500 every 90 days, then what am I going to have at the end of the year? All right, well, I'm going to have $3,000 sitting in there in retail savings. You know, 10 years from now, That's 30 grand. But that's just if I never grow my retail volume, which is not going to be the truth. We're going to continue to grow the volume. We're going to keep getting better. But because we're managing those percentages, we keep seeing more profit, more profit, more profit, more profit. That's the most exciting part of my world, is teaching somebody this, working with them actively to get them there, and then watching them manage the money and seeing how they operate at that level. And just how much more confident they become in themselves, how much more clear they become, how much more direct and sure in their coaching, and what they're going to accept and not accept out of people, because they see the impact of their thinking. They see the impact of how they've been choosing to operate, and they can see the impact and the potential. And it's just exciting to take people on those journeys. And it's exciting to talk about it, because God, usually I'm coming on these things nowadays and talking about crisis management and triage. So thank you.
You're so funny. Oh my gosh. So we do have some salon leaders that are joining us live today. So thank you so much for joining us. So any questions
Awesome.
that you have, that would
Hey,
be
everybody.
awesome. So add them in as well. And thank you for joining us. Okay. So we have a solvent business, let's say. And so we're feeling really confident. Now you're coaching some, your top 10 salons, Stephen. What do they expect to get as far as a net profit percent? I'm all about that bottom line. Sean knows.
Sure.
Like, hey, I want to be at 20% net profit. How are we going to get there? And so let's back it up from there. But what are your salons looking at right now?
As long as I see a salon I want to see a business get to 10% return. But here's how that looks. That is with all the bills being paid. Mm-hmm. With 2% of total sales a month minimum going to advertising and marketing, with 2% of total sales a month minimum going to education. And that's not just technical education. It's business development, personal development, and technical development. And if you want to segue back into that in a little bit, I'll tell you what I think about that.
Great.
So I want to see 10% profit return as long as I'm seeing minimum 2% in marketing. If a business is showing profit, 2 to 4% in marketing. We can get a bit more aggressive, but even if we're at break even or not making money, I still want to see that 2% spent every month. We've got to be growth minded in how we operate. And if we're looking to cut corners and therefore we're not marketing and I do referrals. That thinking is unacceptable. You have to shift that. Can't just live that way, because then we're going to stay exactly where we're at. So we have to invest. We have to think about aggressive. We have to be aggressive in our growth mindset. Attack, grow, let's go. And then in our money management, be really critical and thought-provoking around it. So 2% for marketing and advertising, up to 4% if we're running profit. 2% for education. Am I being paid as an owner?
Right.
Because again, a lot of owners don't pay themselves. They just take what's left over. So you have to pay yourself minimally what is going to pay your bills at home in your personal life. Even if you have a hubby or a wife or a significant other who's contributing financially, or maybe they're the main source of income, you want to eventually replace that income. You want to make enough money off of your business and you get paid so that you could literally pay for everything in your life. Yeah. And then there's 10% left over at the bottom line. Mm. So notice how I didn't mention payroll, because we all know we got to manage that. We all know we got to manage retail inventory and back bar. We got to manage paying our rent, but what I want to see is that owners are investing in marketing and education. So there's aggressive growth going on personally and for the business. And I'm getting paid as an expense of the company. I'm taking a draw every month that's covering everything in my world. I don't have to worry every month, am I going to make enough to make ends meet in my own life? Because then I'm managing from fear, anxiety, and lack, as opposed to managing from growth and abundance. Yeah. So abundant thinking is getting yourself to the place where this is how you operate. Those of you that are listening live or that will listen to this, if you're not there now, Do not beat yourself up for, again, what maybe you didn't know or weren't taking the time to manage. Be excited that you're in this conversation right now. Be excited that you're listening and learning these things so that you can make it a goal to go on this journey. You can make a commitment, not just hope or wish or maybe, or I think I'm going to dabble my foot. The water's freezing. Come on in. Jump in.
Come on in. I love it.
Wake your ass up. Here it is. You know, it's just, you know, it's just how we have to approach it, how we have to approach it, and so that 10% profit percentage has to be behind all those other things going on. That I'm getting paid, we're marketing, we're educating, we're managing our expenses, we're doing those things. Because education is giving back to everybody in that business so that they grow personally and professionally. And when those things are being done, we create a lot of prosperity. Prosperity to me doesn't start with what you have in your pocket. Prosperity to me starts with what's in your heart, what your mindset is, that you feel confident on top of your game, that you're moving and progressing forward, that you're looking inward to see how you can continually grow. That's prosperity. When those things are working, you become so much more magnetic in the world. You become so much more attractive in the world. People want to be around that. And that creates the financial part of it.
Yeah, I love that. So you also dropped something else earlier. You were saying about workman's comp. And I love that you said that because that means they're a W-2 employee base, so to speak.
If they are, yeah.
So let's talk about that because Sean and I, our first month, obviously, we spent on foundation and we talk about integrity as a business owner. And I think most of the salons that we're coaching really just were not educated, or they were in, a type of environment that didn't have integrity. And so you kind of talked a little bit earlier, which I think we're going to segue into this as well. The different profit accounts of retail services, and you pulled in rental business. And so let's talk about that, because talk about the difference between a 1099 employee or a W-2 employee. If there's such a thing as a 1099 employee, there's not, right? It's an independent contractor. And so, in California where you're at, Stephen, they nixed that, of course, in the salon business. They haven't done that out here in the Midwest, and it's still a practice here in the Midwest. And it's, a practice.
Yes.
So let's talk about it. What's your take on it? You and I have never discussed this.
Well, I'm not attached to how anybody wants to set up their business model. What I'm committed to is that they do it the right way and it has integrity, and that's their choice. So whenever I'm talking to somebody about it, it's, look, if you ever get audited and you're a 1099, you're 1099ing people, but then you're paying them for work, but you're treating them like they're true employees when they're not.
Right.
And that's where a lot of issues in California came. That when the law was changed, stylists that were let go from salons, then once they caught wind, they can go 4 years back and they can go after that salon. Were suing salons. And it was getting ugly. I literally, when that happened about 1.5 years, 2 years ago now, I had a salon up in Palo Alto, and she had 40 employees, and she had let one go about 6 months before the law being changed. That stylist caught wind of it, and not only did she sue for 4 years of compensation for being miscalculated, but she reached out to all the stylists working currently there, and 7 of them decided to jump ship. And I mean, it just crushed that owner. She had about 250 grand in savings that were wiped out because of it. And, horrible thing to see, but it's not anybody's fault except owners who are not organizing themselves the right way financially. So I'm not going to be the guy, I never have and I never will, to tell you, oh, rental's bad, only do commission, only do hourly, team-based is better. You can have any type of compensation model you want as long as you manage it correctly and have integrity from the payroll point of view. If you're trying to do 1099 so you can avoid payroll tax, I get it, but then realize in the culture, a true 1099, see, this is the thing, a true 1099 if you're being audited, what the government would swoop in and say is, well, wait a minute, they work every day inside your business. Every single day they're in there. They're not 1099. They're employees, and we're going to charge you back tax. And they can go back 5 years on you if they want, minimum. So then you're having to pay all that back tax. And if you don't have the money, then, you know, that's crushing you. So if you're going to do things, do it right. I don't care if you have a rental business, as long as you're managing it with integrity. You know, I've coached and still coach a ton of rental businesses that are doing it the right way, that have great cultures. If you're going to run a rental business, you have to realize that, you know, you can't be attached to the renters not wanting to participate in marketing or show up for education or show up for meetings. You wanted a rental model. They work for themselves. You know, so if you're upset that they're not wanting to be team, the only thing you can do is just continue renting to them. If not, quit bitching about it. You know, so just continue renting to somebody who doesn't want to be part of a culture. You know, and then find the type of people that want to be part of a culture. If you're going to 1099, then know that you're skirting a very thin red line that, if you do ever get audited, could come back to nip you in the hiney. And that if they are 1099, technically they don't work for you. I am a 1099. I get 1099s as a coach. If Tina were to hire me to coach her business for 12 months, at the end of the year, she's going to send me that 1099. I don't work in the business. I might show up periodically, come in and out. So accountants are 1099, coaches are 1099. Those are true 1099 people. A contractor who comes in to fix sinks or, you know, do those things, 1099. So technically a 1099 person is not supposed to listen to you. They don't have to, because they work for themselves.
Right.
You know, so you 1099 to try and save yourself payroll tax, but then you enforce upon them that they're your employees and that they have to do everything that you want them to. And there's another issue. We tell people as opposed to asking and getting them involved, so we all work with each other. So I wrote a book called Interdependent Leadership because we don't have enough interdependence. We either have a dependent business or an independent one. Independent one where everybody's just doing whatever they want, or a dependent one where I'm dependent upon both of you to show up and I hope they come in today.
Right.
You know, yeah, you know, so we have to get to a place where there's interdependence, where Tina and Sean are strong and powerful and running their own great businesses, but want to work with me and be a part of something. And I think that's where we also miss the boat in this conversation. We get so muddled by the payroll aspect of things, it becomes a big chasm. It's an us versus them, as opposed to it's merely the compensation model in the business. And it's a part of how our culture is going to exist. But most importantly, if you and I are going to choose to work together, Tina, Sean is going to be your mentor and education director. I'm going to meet with you as the owner of the business once a month and work with you and check in and see how things are progressing with you. But the key thing is that we work with each other. I'm going to count on, if you work here, Tina, no matter what the compensation model, is that you bring your very best ideation, your ideas, your brainstorming, that you think critically about what you're doing. You think critically about what we're doing. Because I'm not here to tell anybody to do anything. I'm here to ask questions and work with people. So when we culturally approach our businesses that way, it lessens and dims this miasma of compensation that we throw up as a shield or use as a sword and attack each other with.
Yeah.
You know?
I love this conversation that we're having because this is, you know, I own cosmetology schools, as you know, Stephen, and it's one of the biggest questions or the biggest challenges that we have with our future professional, our graduates, because they don't really understand this conversation. And so talk to a brand new graduate as they're leaving, like be a mentor right now to a brand new graduate and pretend I'm a graduate, talk to them as if you were mentoring me of what I would be looking for when I graduate from school, because I think that's the biggest concern that we have, because many of them are jumping in to these independent contracting salons or salon suites. And then 2 years later saying, oh my gosh, I've been losing so much money. I should have never
Correct.
done this right out of school. And
Correct.
talk to them right now because they don't understand W-2, 1099, suite, rental. They don't get it.
Kind of reminds me of a panel I do every year for Beacon. And we facilitate what are the three main models, and how should you choose. So first of all, Tina, congratulations on your graduation. Take the tassel and turn it this way, okay? And I think the first thing has to be an acknowledgement of the journey you just had and how far you've come to get to this point where you're at now. The second thing is you need to understand that there's different models that you can choose. And each model is going to be different based upon your own spirit and what you want to do. Yeah. You can probably feel in your own world right now that maybe you want to be more independent minded, but you want to be around people, which means that might be going and working in a rental business long-term in your path is going to be the way. You might be independent and really just want to strike out on your own. So working in a suite might be for you down the road. Or you might just want to be part of a team and not have to worry about paying all the bills and doing all those things and just really focus on your customers and focus on that. So working in a commission or hourly operation might be for you. The thing is this, what you just heard me say a minute ago is down the road and in the future. If you're graduating, or Tina, you just graduated, the first thing you should be doing is going and finding a business that you can work in for the next 2 to 5 years where you can get mentored, because you learned everything that you know to now from us here at school. But being in an actual salon or spa environment is a completely different animal. And you have to go and learn. And you have to go learn from somebody who's going to mentor you. And you have to build a business. So working in a business that is going to be budgeted to market you, budgeted to continue to educate you, and is going to have the resources to support your development is the smartest way to grow your business long-term. And then eventually, when you've gone through those curves and you've worked under a mentor for a few years and you've built your business, if you want to spread your wings and fly, then spread them and fly. And that's not saying, Tina, that you can't go right now and run a suite and be successful in the next 6 to 24 months. You can, but the percentage is minimal. Mm-hmm. The percentage is minimal. The issue, Tina, is that we live in such a socially driven world that we see these stylists being so successful with these big followings, and we see stylists. In fact, name a stylist, Tina, that you're inspired by that's out there working on their own.
Yeah, Amber Butson. Perfect.
Okay, great. So what inspires you about Amber?
That she's so self-driven, and even though but she's very authentic, and she also owns her own business, but she also did it right. She has integrity. She owns her own S corporation. She pays her taxes. She invites people to work, with her, that she pays them an hourly wage. And so
exactly.
Right. She's not paying them cash under the table.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. So find out from her what it took for her to get there. Find out if she, was mentored. Reach out and ask somebody who's in the position you want to, what it really looks like. The Ambers of the world are going to be few and far between. Yeah. Not everybody is going to be able to go out there and build a business overnight, using social media and expect to have a massive following right away. And you've gone through school to learn a good foundational core to get you started behind the chair in a treatment room, not own and operate a business. So unless you understand how to manage profit and loss statements and manage inventory and all the nuances that go along with it, from merchandising to ordering, tracking and analyzing trends, to managing your back bar, to looking at what your service mix is so you order the right amount of color tubes and don't over purchase. If you don't know any of those things, you're simply not ready. If you only have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 clients a week that you're seeing out of school that you expect to follow you, you're not ready. If you haven't learned how to create a cash flow management plan for yourself. You're not ready, you know, because if you're going to work independently, you got to be the cook, baker, and candlestick maker. You got to do it all. And you're not going to have the time and resources at the beginning of this, because you're just going to be trying to get customers and trying to get customers and trying to get customers. And that's going to be you getting on the wheel and spinning for the next 40 years of your career. So we'd rather have you not do that. We'd rather have you eventually get to it by going and being mentored and learning from people and growing with people, and then spreading your wings and flying. And who knows, maybe you'll become a salon and spa owner yourself one day and not work independently. But at least go try to learn inside of an environment, because there's so much more to be learned. And you can't really learn unless you're in that environment. And, you know, it was one thing for you to charge the school prices, but to go into another business and now somebody's going to pay you $100 for something or $250 for something, whole nother ballgame. So there's a lot of hurdles to overcome. You may as well do it with people who have been there and have experience and have integrity. And that leads to another thing, Tina, be picky about where you go. Don't just take the first job that comes your way. Don't just land somewhere because they're offering you a job and you're going to make money because you need it right now. That, you know, you have to be picky. You have to research those companies on social media. You have to go on their website. You have to interview, and you have to ask important questions. How am I going to be trained? Is there a training plan? What's the curriculum? How are you going to market and grow me? What are your expectations of me? How am I going to be mentored? By when do you expect me to be on the floor? And what do you need out of me? You know, those are critical questions to ask in an interview process. Because I could walk in, you could walk into my salon, and it could look gorgeous in here. And I've got all these stations and we're busy, and it's just like aesthetically and from the energy, you want to be a part of it. But what you don't know is that behind the scenes, it's a shit show and there's no systems and it's crazy and chaotic, you know? And then you come in and I tell you blue skies and apple pies, and Sean's my education director and he's going to work with you. But, you know, Sean's triple booked and slammed and got 2 assistants working with him. I'm creating that. We're going to get to those days again where we can not be, we'll get there again, everybody.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. You know, so Sean's the education director, but he's so busy, he's not giving you the attention that you need 2 or 3 weeks in. Then you're staying because you need the job and you need the $12.50 to $15 an hour, but your light bulb is already dimmed halfway. Because I said this and now here's how it's going. So, you know, you really need to ask the right questions and be picky about where you're going to land. And any other student out there, you know, get uncomfortable and be willing to do whatever it takes to create the type of career that you want. So if you want to do platform work, or if you want to do editorial work, and you reach out to a mentor and they're like, well, the best way for you really to learn from me is to come work here in my city, and you got to move. If that's what it takes, try and figure that out. Be willing to stretch yourself and do whatever it takes.
So good. I love this so much. I'm going to let Sean ask the very last question as we close this out, but first and foremost, I just want to thank you so much for this information. Sean and I were actually going to do a podcast on this, and now you just did it for us. So this is amazing, because it's been one of the sources of contention that we have with our graduates for sure. So, and I know we go to Stephen Gomez coaching, or is it consulting.com to get all
so how you guys can reach me, my website is www.stephengomez.net, and that's STEPHEN, just like my mama spelled it, Gomez, GOMEZ.net. So stephengomez.net. You can follow me on Instagram at Salon Coach, SJG, Stephen James Gomez. And then on Facebook, Stephen J. Gomez. Those are the ways that you guys can reach me. So if you have any questions, if you want to dig deeper off of what we talked about, I'm here to support.
I love that we've kind of talked about a little bit about everything. You talked about importance of, giving your best, the intense coaching, mentors, culture, understanding your finances, but let's just say that somebody comes to you who has worked with you and now they're understanding their finances. What is that next missing piece in their leadership or the success of their salon? So once they've kind of understood, okay, so this is how the numbers work. This is, what's that next thing that you're seeing that you got to kind of give them a little boost and a little kick with?
Yeah, the next step is, it's really a twofold. And it's why I wrote Interdependent Leadership. One is you have to take more time to work on your business as opposed to in your business. You need to give yourself, if you own the business, at least one, if not 2 full days that you're not working, if you're a working stylist or owner, behind the chair or in a treatment room. You have to give yourself the time to work on your business and reflect, and not just be in busy work with those days, not just be wearing a fireman's hat for those 2 days, putting out fires. You have to organize your time. Any owner that I work with, once we buy back your time, we then strategically plan out where you're taking 3 hours, 1 day a week on one of those business days where you are in an uninterrupted place. The phone is turned upside down and on mute, and you are analyzing a different area of your business each week. And I put it into a rotation, Sean, in how I teach it. The first week of the month, we're looking back on how we did from a sales perspective, because we just completed the month that was. So did we hit our goals from a service, retail, gift card point of view, color point of view, etc.? Who's doing great? Who's not? Who do I need to coach? Who needs cheerleading and mentoring? Why is that person doing great? What are they doing? Let me check in. Second week of the month, we focus on marketing, because we're 2 weeks into the month. We might have launched a new initiative. How are we doing? Are we on track? Who's rocking? Who's not? We have 2 weeks before the month ends. We might have a promotion starting 2 weeks from now. Are we ready? Are we prepared? Do we have the printing and the, and all the collateral ready? Do we have the resources ready? Do we have a budget? How are we going to track it? The third week is all for finance, because by the way, everyone, you should be getting an organized profit and loss statement and balance sheet every single month from your accountant or bookkeeper. And if they can't get that for you, find another. You pay them money every month, get the data. So that means by the first of the month, you have to do your part, get them all the receipts. They have access to the bank statements so they can reconcile everything. And, give them a couple of weeks to get all that organized. So by the 15th of the month, you have it. So that third Tuesday of the month, you're looking at your data, you're looking at your finances, you're seeing how you're performing financially. And then the fourth week of the month is for operational things. So where I'm carving out time for 3 hours, and that's when I do my one-on-ones. That's when I do group interviews. That's when I do our education classes. As an owner, I'm now not rushing off of a service to go sit and do an interview. I'm not rushing off of a service to go do a one-on-one, thinking about the 5 other services after this one-on-one, which is all about me in rush mode, managing my schedule. I'm now dedicating time to sit down one-on-one and be prepared to talk to you, Sean, to really walk through what's going on, because I can give you that attention. So the first piece is helping owners get that time back so they can give it to their business, so they can be reflective and analytical. That's part one. The second piece is then teaching them how to create leaders. Teaching an owner how to get other people involved in the successful operation of the business, so that an owner can delegate and they can get other people to take on things. But you see, most of us, there's like 3 chapters that I dedicate in that book to this conversation I'm going to breeze over right here, because it takes so much depth. Most of us delegate as a dump. Tina delegates to Steve so Tina can have more time. It's all about Tina. That is third on the list. What Tina gets out of delegation should be third. The first thing that Tina is going to get out of delegation is seeing Sean grow professionally, seeing Sean become more confident in himself, seeing Sean take on something he never thought he would have the skill set to do, and he has and is doing, and he's more sure of himself. He's more on fire in his career than ever before. That's why we delegate, number one. Number 2 reason why we delegate is to support the business. Number 3 reason why we delegate is so that we then can get more time to focus on other important things that our busyness have not allowed us to do. So helping an owner, Sean, to get that time back, and then so they can fundamentally get organized, and then helping them teach other people that are hungry for it. Not everybody's going to want to do it, and we can't be attached. If we have people on our team that we think would be great at doing things or great in a managerial role and they don't want to, don't be offended by it. If they're not ready for it, why force them into something? Then they're going to do it from a place of anxiety and wanting to do it right to not piss you off. So we gotta find people that are hungry for it and teach them. And we have to expect that it's going to be a 12-month journey to get them there. One of the greatest gifts I was ever given from an old mentor of mine, I used to work for her company, Susie Carter and Bert Carter, who are no longer in the industry, but I used to work for their company, and they promoted me to the director of training. This was, 15 years ago now. And they said, you earn the right. You embody everything we want out of you when you're in front of a room nationally. You embody it. You embody our values. You embody your preparation. You're doing everything. You're hitting the percentages. You're hitting the mark. So you've earned the right to become the director of training. And here's what we're giving you along with that. But it doesn't mean you know how to do it at all. And it's going to take at least 12 months for you to really get comfortable in this role, Steve. So know that we're not putting pressure on you to get it right. We know that if you take the role, you're probably going to put enough pressure on yourself anyways. So you're not going to get any from us. What you're going to get from us is analysis and talking with you about how it's going and what you're learning and what's coming along well and where you can improve. That's what you're going to get from us. You're going to get coaching from us. But Steve, make a mess.
Yep.
Make it yours. Make a mess. Go make a mistake. Don't worry about doing it right. Take it on as yours and create things. And then we'll see if it works or not. And if it didn't, why? What can we learn? What can we improve upon? Let's try it again or not. That just didn't work. Let's go in this direction. It was the greatest bit of coaching I ever received. I sat across from another person in that same meeting and she was being promoted, but she didn't choose to think of it that way. She put a lot more pressure on herself than I did. So it was a longer curve, than I had. I'll never forget just being given the keys, being told that we believe in you enough that we're willing to take a whole arm of our company and have you now manage it and put your own stamp on it. And I created a train the trainer program from that one conversation that has now gone on to launch 3 other consulting companies in this industry. From that one conversation where I was told to make it yours.
Wow.
And I'll never forget that. So in a long roundabout way, Sean, I kind of answered your thing, I hope. And, 2 main things: get back the time so you can get your shit together and get organized, so everything is in the right place and you're taking the time to analyze and think about your business, and then pour energy into your people and find those that thought their career was going to be as a stylist or as an esthetician or whatever service they're doing, but they've gradually grown and ascended to a place where they know they want to do more and take on more, and help them grow into those things. There's not a greater, more rewarding experience in the world than watching that happen. And you get so much more time for yourself to then actually pull your head up out of the busyness and look out into your future a year to 5 years ahead and be the leader you need to be 5 years out from where your business is today, guiding everybody to that point.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Stephen. We always definitely think of you first when we get ready to launch one of these. Who can we reach out to? Who always gives the best information and always says yes. So again, thank you so much, Stephen. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. It is my pleasure.
God bless you.
It is my pleasure. And all of you that are live out there, have a productive week. And the most productive way you can have it is by stopping and reflecting and thinking. And for those of you that are going to listen to this as well, please do the same. And just remember, where you're located up here makes all the difference in the world. We're all going through transcendent times in our world. It's so challenging right now, So please do this, everyone. Focus on what you can control. Focus on what you can control, because outside your four walls, there's a lot of chaos out there right now. You know, with the virus, economically, politically, fires raging, all these things happening. What can you control? Start there every day and get yourself grounded there. And thank you for listening, everybody. And if you ever need to get a hold of me, you should now know how to get a hold of me. I'm here to serve. Tina and Sean, really love and appreciate you guys. Can't wait until we get to squeeze again one day and say hey, and we get to see each other. You know, other than on a screen. It's going to be awesome when that happens. Always humbled and honored to be with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Take care, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.